Hey everybody, I had a question today about pulling liquidations from BitMEX, and the fine folks at Recto allowed us to pull from their API, pull the liquidations from their API. So what we're going to do today is set up Impulse to pull liquidations directly from this website using the Impulse dashboarding ecosystem. So I'm going to go over into Impulse here, and we are actually going to create a new dashboard, and we're going to create a new data source because we want to wire this dashboard up so it can pull directly from that data source. So we're going to add a new data source. We're going to go to create data source, disregard this error here. We're going to go next and click next, and we'll call it Recto BitMEX liquidations, and I have the URL, the API endpoint right here. We're going to paste that in. There's no authentication needed for this, so we're going to click next, and already it's went to the API. It found out what metadata was being pulled, what data structures, and I don't need a lot of this, but I do want to have the leaves quantity and all this other stuff here. And that's just knowing the API and what's coming through. So I'm going to click finish, and it created a new JSON data source here. I'm going to add that to my dashboard, and we will close this out, and that should be a data source that's on the dashboard now, available for any of these tools that are up here. We have a grid, we have a pivot table, we have graphs, we have tree map, pie charts, scatter charts, cards, gauges, text boxes, picture boxes. And today we're just going to focus on the grid component again. And so we added a grid to the dashboard here, and we are going to come in and make sure we have our data source set to that JSON data source. In a future version, I'll allow you to rename that so it can be Recto or what have you. So we'll click OK. Now I should be able to start adding the columns. I'm going to do that. We'll do symbol. I'm going to hold off on the timestamp because we're going to do something with that, because that timestamp is an integer-based value. So we actually want to display a date, and I'll tell you how we can do that without any really extra hoops or special coding that we need to do. So we'll do the symbol, and then we'll add another column here. We'll do the side, buy and sell. We'll add another column, price and quantity and value USD. Good deal. We have we're going to have these actually be real values instead of aggregate or summarized values. We're going to have the real value be displayed here, and we're going to format this out, so don't worry about that. We'll format these numbers so we don't get wrapped up in the minimalistic display of the numbers here. So I'm going to save this, and if I just refresh this, it's going to go out and pull that data back in from there. Now, I told you we were going to do something with that timestamp, and this is really cool. This makes the dashboarding ecosystem so much more powerful. So we're going to go back to our data source up here, and we have the Recto data source that we created here, and we're actually going to create a calculated field. So that's a field that we can choose to display on the grid or any of the other data sources. We're actually going to convert that timestamp into an actual time. So we're going to add a calculated field. We will call this real time. Let's call it universal coordinated time, or UTC time. And we will make this a date field, date time field. And I have my calculation here, and basically this is known as like a Unix time. So that number that comes through in the timestamp is actually the number of seconds from this date, which is 1/1/1970. Won't go into all the details, but we're basically making we are creating a date time based upon that timestamp. So we're going to go ahead and save this. And we now have UTC time right here. And we're going to save that. We're going to come back into here. Now when we click on our grid and we go to our properties here, we are actually going to add, we'll see a calculated field in here called UTC time. So we're going to click and add that. And the group interval, right now it says that it's just sorting by, or it's grouping everything by year. We don't really want that. We want to do, let me pull that back up. We want to do by day, hour, minutes, and seconds. So we'll click on that. You see, that's really cool. And we're going to throw that up. We might want this right up at the top. So we're going to drag that up here, right at the top. And you'll see, there you go. And maybe we want this group descending. So we want the latest ones first. So we'll come back over to here. And we will go into our data shaping. And we want it in descending order. So we'll go ahead and save that. So we basically have our latest ones, our latest liquidations right at the top. I don't really like the way this is displayed for the fields, the headers up here. So I want to change this around as well. And you can do this with any of the charts or pivot tables, graphs. You have you can fully customize any of these headers. So I'm going into my year here, and I'm going to click on that UTC time that we did up here. And we're going to go down to options, and we're going to put date time as a label. And as soon as I tab away from that, we'll come back over here and see we have date and time. Symbol, side, price. We'll just change this to quantity. So we'll come back over here. We'll change this. Maybe we just want QTY here. QTY. And USD. Let's do value USD. There we go. Let's do a little bit of formatting here. And we're going to change the price over here. We're going to go to the price, and we're going to say format, and we want to format these as a number, and we'll just say ones, and we can set our own custom precision on here. You get the picture, and maybe I want a group separator there as well. Let's do the same thing for quantity. We'll just leave that as it is. And value USD, we'll do the same thing. We might want to set that to currency. And we will say ones, and actually out to do decimal places. And we'll put a group separator on that as well. There we go. Look at that. So the last thing I'm going to show you is to do some custom formatting in here again. Let's do anything that's greater than $20,000 for, let's boldface anything that's greater than 20,000. So if I come into here and I go into my conditional formatting, we're going to add a conditional format off of the value USD, and we're going to say the content type is going to be the value of that field is going to be greater than or equal to, and then we will put 20,000 in here. 20,000. And as soon as I tab away from there, I'm just going to do boldface. So anything greater than 20,000, it's actually going to boldface that. And if we come into our filter here, actually let's go down to here. Whoops, sorry about that. Go down to click here. Let's do greater than or equal to, let's just pull up anything greater than 10,000. And you'll already see anything greater than 20,000 is boldface. And I can even apply that boldface to the entire row if I wanted to. So let's go to my value USD here, and we will click on here, edit this, and for miscellaneous down here, we're going to apply it to the whole row. What that's going to do is make sure that it applies it to the entire row so it's easier to see. And that same thing happens for if you use an icon or if you use color coding. So let's do yellow. There you go. So it's kind of cool. We just formatted this. We took the API from rek.to, and let's actually refresh it. Let's see if we got some of the new stuff that came over. Let's save it, and let's go see what we got. Our last date timestamp here was 6:46. So let's go over here, and you'll see more stuff. We got this XBT USD coming in at 500 US dollars. Quantity is 500. Let's refresh our dashboard. I'm looking at this scratching my head because I see all the date times here are all the same. I must have made a mistake on that calculated field, and I'm pretty sure I did, because when I pasted that value in right here, I pasted the number where I should have actually, you can come in here, and we wanted to calculate that off the timestamp. So I have my list of fields that are coming through from rek.to, and what I want to do is make sure that I pull the timestamp into there, not my hard-coded field that I typed in. I was scratching my head because I was wondering why all those times were the same. So let's go ahead and click out of here. We'll save that. And now we see that this is looking much better with that timestamp there. See that? And I hit refresh, and you'll see that that should line up. I'm going to put these side by side here. That should pretty much line up, and you see that auto formatted really nice. And you notice the one thing that's great about this, I know rek.to rounds some of their numbers, so you'll see that there's no rounding happening here at all. You get to decide what precision level. They have the right data coming through, and they're rounding it off so it's easier for you to read on their display. So that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day, and looking forward to hearing all your comments. Take care.